There is victory for all. There is victory for all. In the struggle for our members, there is victory for all. Forward, never backward, never. In the struggle for our members, there is victory. In Africa,
A frontline Nigerian journalist, Mr. Abiodun Borisade, has described the ongoing strike by the Nigeria Labour Congress as an act of terrorism. He spoke on Zoom to Puff Television from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria.
It's a legal action, no doubt. I want to quote the words from the Sultan of Sokoto with regards to this strike action. His fatherly advice was that the labor leadership should not get tired of negotiation. End of quote. Now, from my point of view, they are negotiating for Nigerians, not for themselves. You cannot spite the face by cutting the nose off. And what I mean by that is this. When you shut down the national grid, it's tantamount to terrorism because hospitals' lives are at risk. Outside that, it's economic sabotage. And I believe the labor leadership are trying to do right by Nigerians. If you're trying to do right by Nigerians and you now again go and sabotage their economic means of livelihood, I think it's unfair. Now, I'm speaking from Abuja, just at the junction of Julius Nyerere in Asokoro. UBA there was presumed shut down. I told them, look, banks are not shut down. But the atmosphere of fear that the strike actions has initiated in the minds of people, in the minds of progressives, will make any right-thinking branch manager to limit access to the bank. Because as we know, when good causes like this are put in motion, you have some bad elements who want to capitalize on it and take over the goodwill of whatever the good intentions were. Banks are operating, but everything has been done under the atmosphere of fear. Why terrorize people if you're negotiating on their behalf? Why? Air travel has been disrupted. Again, isn't that economic sabotage? So I'm not going to employ them. Whatever they want to do, they should do. Nigeria will survive. Nigeria is bigger than any individual. And we must remember this. I recall the times of late Frank Kokori. Those were real patriots. Even the current senator now, His Excellency Oshiomhole, when those individuals were clamoring for negotiation and things like that, they didn't put lives at risk. This set of people who are politicians at night, labor activists by day, it's the current labor leadership needs to have a review of their thinking. They need to have a review of their actions. They need to do a safety assessment of anything they do. Otherwise, they're jeopardizing lives. They're jeopardizing an already weak economy. End of the day, I will say this. They've shut down the national grid. Let's say they do it for 48 hours. Within that 48 hours, the barber at the corner side of the road is going to increase the cost of his services. But guess what? The elites, they would they would bear the brunt by switching on their generator for that 48 hours. Now, who is at the receiving end? Is it not the common man that the labor leadership claim that they're negotiating on behalf of?
When you look at the fact that the issue over minimum wage has been on for a while now, would you not say that the workers have made
I want to
sufficient sacrifice?
respectfully interrupt you.
All right.
I want to respectfully interrupt you. Look, when we are negotiating, let us negotiate realistically. If the current labor leadership want my sympathy, if they want my support, I would say that they should ask for a realistic living wage, not 500,000. It's not realistic to request for 500,000 as the minimum. If they say, look, okay, maybe 100,000, 150,000, you will find people that will come out and say, yes, I think this set of persons are making sense with their with their request. But you request for 500,000, where do you want to get it from? We must learn to do things in moderation.
Don't you think labor is engineered by the luxurious life of our political office holders, which hasn't?
Well, I'm not going to hold brief for any political office holder, but what I know is this, right? Those set of individuals that we have labeled as political office holders, one, they are citizens. Two, they were elected there. They didn't come from heaven. So again, if we the citizens aren't upright enough to elect our best, and we, decide to use our second 11, why should we now criticize whatever they do? They didn't come from the moon, they were elected. I'm sure you see where I'm coming from.
Yes.
They were elected. And I'm sure even this current set of labor leaders, right? They casted votes during elections. So, one, I'm not against legal strike actions, but we must learn to do things in moderation. We must not deploy terrorist strategies, like putting people in darkness, thinking that would galvanize a nationwide mass protest or revolution. It would never, because Nigerians have had enough of everything, and everybody is now resorting to dealing with the daily grind as best as they can. That's why you will find people digging borehole. I think what we really need, right, is a reawakening, which this current set of labor leaders cannot give us. That sense of reawakening, this current set of labor leaders cannot give us, because they are politicized themselves. You can't have a labor leader come and tell me, a progressive, you a labor leader, that you're clamoring to aspire, or that you are campaigning for one opposition political presidential leader, and you think that I would gladly listen to you without reassessing my own current position. So I think what we need as a nation is to support the current leadership of Nigeria. One, that leadership was elected. Two, we must sustain our democracy. But most importantly, until the next election cycle comes, we must ensure that lives and properties are not put at risk through some irresponsible actions of people in authority. When you switch off the national grid, when you picket airport gates, where people who have booked their tickets 2-3 months prior to that date are not able to fly. And remember, these airlines, they hardly refund your money. If you're going to get a refund, you would wait for months, if not years. They'll tell you your ticket is open for 6 months or another year. What if you decide not to use that airline? So you see, we must do things in moderation and also with a human face. We must support this current government until the next election cycle comes. That is what any patriotic Nigerian should do. Not that you deploy terrorist strategies because you are in a position to put the national grid to a shutdown. The federal government has said it, insisting on 500,000 as minimum wage will put the economy not only at risk, in fact, it will shatter the entire glass house.
Mr. Borisade, if you were the NLC chairman today, how would you have approached this matter?
One, even if strike would be called, you have to exempt certain sectors. Those are the germane issues. You have to exempt certain sectors. You cannot shut down your national grid when you know that hospitals are already struggling to get money for procurement of drugs and equipment. Now you are putting additional burden on them of diesel. That's number one, sir. Number two, travel. Travel is very important to economy. You have, over the weekend, I went for an event, a gastronomy festival, where you had countries like France, Barbados, Jamaica, Spain, China, coming to talk about how their indigenous foods worldwide has brought money to them. Now, certain individuals who have traveled for that event, they want to go back. Now they're struggling. They get to the airport, they see chaos. They can't access the airport because there's a massive queue of vehicles and human beings at the main gate. Tell me that sends a good message about Nigeria out. We cannot throw the baby away with the bathwater. No matter what we're going through, we must be resilient. You cannot get tired of negotiating. You can't. Otherwise, you don't fit into that position. So strike action is legitimate, but we must do things moderately and with a human face. We must know certain sectors are critical to our survival. Hospitals, the medical sectors, even travel. Do you get now? WAEC is currently going on. WAEC is currently going on. This strike, I read in one of the newspapers yesterday that can these labor leaders vouch that this strike action would not have any effect on WAEC. That is the future of Nigeria. Our children who are getting ready for admission into university, right? They have been affected. So, the labor leaders that were interviewed couldn't vouch that WAEC would not be disrupted.
Do you think the government has done enough with its offer of 60,000 naira in view of the present cost of things generally in the country?
60,000 is not enough. Nobody's disputing that. A few states have upped the antics. Some are paying 70,000, like Edo. Nobody, but what I'm saying is this, sir. If you're coming to ask me for 500,000, I also would go below what I expect you to rightly ask for. I think the labor leadership are making that mistake by inflating the amount that should be deemed appropriate as the minimum wage for the country. When you up it so much, then they would also down it for you. Do you get? And you know the way we negotiate in Nigeria, you put your price up because you know they will bring it down. But end of the day, you know what you're going to come down to. So I think this strike action has missed its objective. The objective is meant to resolve the crisis of minimum wage. They have missed this opportunity by bungling their approach. You don't ask for unrealistic things and expect to get reality. They bungled it. They should have just, done the right and ask for a realistic living minimum wage. That's number one. Number two, they dare not extend this strike beyond today. That I know. And Nigerians are getting tired of this, their shenanigans. just taking 24 hours out of our time. What they ought to do realistically, do you get,
Yes.
face reality and do things appropriately. When I say appropriately, what I intend, I think what I'm passing across is that ask for a realistic minimum wage and stop asking for 500,000. Can we afford it?
Which, in your
Now,
estimation, should be
remember,
what? Realistic.
Well, going by the current market prices of consumables, it will be a bit difficult to ascribe a figure, but 100,000 as the minimum wage, that then I can assure you that even those market people, they would readjust, because whatever prices they place on these food items is dependent on the purchasing power of individuals. So realistically, if they increase the minimum wage to 100,000, the market people would adjust themselves within 2 weeks. Otherwise, most of these things are perishable.
We also have ASU declaring another round of strike. We are aware that before the present president came to power, he even negotiated with ASU at a point over strike. And today, the same ASU that he helped to talk to step down their strong position during the previous government is now also...
negotiation doesn't end.
Okay.
Negotiation doesn't end, particularly when you have eggheads, cerebral individuals. Their position will always change, and once it changes, conditions, requests also change. In terms of ASU, I'm sure they're educated and enlightened people, and they know the implications of their actions. So for them, I mean, there was a period of shutdown of our universities, right? They also know that they knew the impact on them, because a lot of them get foreign aid. When they get foreign funding for research and things like that. So if you shut down the university for that long, it will also have an impact on your skills acquisition. I can again tell you that the students will speak to them. The issue of teacher-student relationships, it will get to a point in Nigeria where we'll seek opinion from their students before they embark on any strike. Otherwise, there will be a backlash on them. Remember, theirs is a community within the community. So let's leave them out. They will resolve themselves with their students if they continue to hold people to ransom. If they continue to hold parents to ransom, their students would intervene one way or another, and it won't be the first time that scenario will come up in Nigeria. After all, these ASU members are also parents. You get so.
But do you think a state of multiple industrial actions speak well of the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
A state of multiple industrial strikes, you said?
Yes. Industrial actions, left and right.
Number one, it won't be the first time. Number two, it will be supported as long as it isn't politically engineered towards disrupting our democracy. Do you get, sir?
Yeah.
Nigerians are no longer fools. Whatever you do, so long as you're doing it with genuine intentions and not to extricate a certain sector of the society, or do you get? Negotiations will continue. This set of individuals who are negotiating on our behalf, because remember, we're all Nigerians. The president himself is negotiating for Nigerians. The labor leaders are negotiating for Nigerians. So ultimately, the benefit of both sides negotiating should be towards the advancement of the Nigerian cause. Anything otherwise, Nigerians will see through it and reject it.
People of the fountain.